What expectations do you have of your squad?
I think overall, doing better than the last couple of seasons, but obviously in my time here, good work done enough to make sure we're in the division. Of course, that was the biggest challenge, and then from there, can we take some of the stuff we've learned from that forwards and improve? I think that's the first step.
I'd imagine you've got confidence that they can do better than last season. What gives you that confidence that they can?
Yeah, certainly I've got confidence. I think having a pre-season with the players, we've had a few, for different reasons, came in late and stuff because of internationals and a couple of injuries, but generally having a pre-season with them and rubbing off hopefully more with what we expect from them. And some of the things that I think are important. So, the truth is when the whistle blows, but so far I think during pre-season it's been a pretty solid pre-season. There's been some good performances and a good energy and belief in what we're doing. So we want that to obviously go into the first game and beyond.
You have spoken about difficulties in the transfer market. I wonder how many more bodies do you feel you need to get in before that window shuts?
Well, it's there are challenges. That's been apparent. We've been linked with many. That's always the case. No, I think it's not really an exact number, but I think I spoke last year, and I think everyone knew it. Certainly, Evertonians. There was a big imbalance in the squad. Too many players in certain positions, so we're having to, and we've somewhat done that. We're having to rebalance. So therefore, we need to find that balance. So the players that can fill in the slots, if you like, but obviously have a quality that we think is appropriate and finding that right mixture. We have got some experience here. Can we find the next young players as well to add into that experience and build the squad in a different way than it has been in the past?
Obviously, I'll have to throw names at you. Wilfred Ndidi was left out of the lead squad last night. I know it's easy for us to put two and two together, but what indication is that there is a deal to be done there? Because we hear that Everton have had approaches not backed by Leeds.
Well, as you know, I don't tend to speak about other players. He's a good player. There's lots out there. The one I will speak about is Youssef. He's nearly at a situation for me to be clear on. It's very close now, so that's why I'm happy to speak about that one. So hopefully that'll get done, and that's a young player, of course, who can, like I say, add a different layer and a different dimension to rebuilding or adding to the squad. So yeah, there's a number of players out there. I've said all along we're working hard, which we are doing. So let's see where what we can open up.
Has Youssef got some of the qualities that Dominic has in terms of hold of play and being able to?
Yeah, I mean he's young. For starters, he's young. He's we're not putting any kind of pressure on him at all at this stage. He's very young in his career, on the pitch and off the pitch, in his natural professional understanding. But we think he's got the raw talent and ingredients to be a good player. So that's why we've got him here. And
are you able to tell us any more about Hugo Ekitike? Because we hear that there's been at least contact with PSG.
No, not to my knowledge.
Is that no contact? Or?
No, there's not to my knowledge about him.
Okay. Damari Gray, in terms of potential outgoings, I mean, what potential is there that he could go to Fulham?
The players that are here are still here. That's the truth of it. The links with people like whether it's him or the ones I keep reading about him, Mason, Andre Gomez, people like that, they're still here. They're still absolutely part of the club. And then if that changes, you'll be the last to know.
Standard.
Absolutely.
What do you expect from Fulham then? Obviously, first game of the season. Marco has also had his own fair share of problems trying to build on what they managed to do last season, of course. Yeah,
I mean, we all know it's a very strong season from last season. Did very well. And like I said, the challenge of football, it's not just ours. Every club has its own different sort of challenges. Ours have probably been more obvious to all and more reported on. But no, I'd expect, well, after viewing them last season, obviously at the end of pre-season, you're never quite sure. Equally, they won't be sure about us either. We'll wait and see, but they had a very strong season last season. They've still got some very good players. So, yeah, we have to be ready for every challenge, and we've learnt that. That is something the club's learnt over the last couple of seasons. There's absolutely no gimmies in the Premier League. It's something I've been preaching for many, many years. So you have to be ready for everyone. Whether it's the first game or the last game, you have to be ready.
A couple of things around the team. Is it confirmed that James Tarkowski is vice-captain now? And if it is, how difficult was it to tell Jordan Pickford?
Yeah, it's one of them, to be honest, there's a reason I spoke to Jordan and I spoke to Seamus. So to be clear, Seamus is club captain and team captain, as long as he's fit and he's well and he's playing, of course, and he's picked. I just wanted an on-pitch, as in literally on the pitch, from a keeper's point of view. And I've had, I remember Tom was captain for a while in the absence of Ben Mee and things like that. But generally speaking, I've always liked an on-field captain in the sense of, higher up the pitch, can affect more. Jordan's his own kind of captain anyway. He's a very, very experienced player. And he was absolutely understanding of the situation. It was a very simple thing. But like I say, nothing's changed with Seamus. So if Seamus is fit and well, when he does get fit and well and he's playing, then he's captain.
Toffee fit for the weekend. Also, what chance that Dominic can have any involvement?
We were more being cautious over the last couple of games, as you can imagine, because the squad is still a bit skinny. I mean, we've got a couple in and loans and stuff, a couple of injuries still that are going to take a bit of time. So yeah, it's more managing the players. But no, he's fine.
DCL,
Yeah, but he just needs game. He needs game time, Dom, because unfortunately the games have just run out in pre-season for him. If it could have been a couple of weeks earlier, we could have got more game time in. But he's fit and well as regards generally. We're just finishing off the games programme, and as long as he comes through that, then he'll certainly be. We'll be looking forward to having him back.
Can he possibly be on the bench against Fulham?
We'll have to make a call on that. I've spoken to him about it anyway, and how he's feeling and stuff like that. So we'll make a call on that.
And just Dwight and Seamus, any update on when they might be available again, and Dele as well?
Yeah, Dwight. Dele unfortunately has had a setback. He's finding himself, which is important, of course, after the recent news, and he's well in himself. But obviously, it's a bit of a setback when he was just getting fit and he was just back in training, so that wasn't ideal. So he's a bit of time. But anyway, he's got time anyway. We know that, to make sure he's well on the pitch and off the pitch. Dwight, unfortunately, it's not going to be days, it's going to be weeks. I mean, not loads of weeks, we're waiting to see, but certainly it won't be days. So, yeah, that's an unfortunate one. Excuse me. An ankle ligament injury. He's never, in my experience, not been injured very often. So we're hopeful that his body deals with that pretty quick. Seamus is just on his way, natural part of his rehab, or coming through the natural part of his rehab. So this is more of a timescale thing as regards the plan that was in place for that type of injury.
Great stuff. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks. We'll go to Stuart of Premier League Productions.
Obviously, the last couple of seasons have been a sort of a battle to survive in the Premier League. What do you think are the realistic aims and ambitions for this campaign for Everton?
Well, like I mentioned, I think it has to be progress. We've got to look at progress, and from just staying up for 2 seasons. And I mentioned at the end of last season, we can't just keep relying on that. There's got to be more to it. So we're looking to build on the squad mentality that's here. We're looking to bring some of their qualities more to life, if you like, and then also bring in where we can, and achieve a more rounded squad. So certainly the idea is to be better than last season. Hopefully on a weekly basis, but certainly on a season's basis, to be in better shape than we were last season. That's the first marker.
In terms of Premier League experience, you brought in Ashley Young, who's got vast Premier League experience. What has he brought in, and has he had an impact on the group?
He's brought in the reminder that I'm old, as I was his captain and he made his debut. So that was a bit of a reminder to the truth of my life. When you see him waltz in the building, and he's at the end of his career, and I'm like, where did that go? That was gone. But no, he's a great pro. He's a rounded pro, obviously, very experienced, very fit, looks after himself, and he's still got that edge that you need as a player. Never been too bothered about age, as long as they've got that edge, that it is that competitive edge, and he's certainly got that.
And it could be the last sort of full season at Goodison. I just wonder if that's an added motivation that it ends well.
No, I think that's more an historic thing. If you've been Evertonian all your life and that sort of thing, then that's a different ball game. I've been here 2 minutes in the grand scheme of things, so I'm just more worried about the team, getting that sorted out, organising the club the best I can and my share of it. But the stadium and all that situation, that's deeper than just me as a manager.
Good luck, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Sean.
Hi.
When you came to the club the second half of last season, there was obviously a very specific goal in mind and a lot of pressure, and the pressure is always there, of course. But how does it feel now? How excited are you for a new season? You've had the summer, a pre-season. Do you feel like you've got a bit more space to breathe, if you like?
Yeah, I think so. There's still pressure because it's inherent in the job anyway, but certainly at a club like this, the size of Everton Football Club, the history and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it was a much more pressurised situation last season because of the situation the team and the club found itself in. So, but there's always pressure. There's pressure you put on yourself as much as anything, and to make sure you're working hard with the team to perform. So, I'm not too. If you get what I mean, I'm not looking at it like as a breather though. I mean, there's no time for a breather. It's going to be whistle blows and we're off and running again. So there's been a lot of work done pre-season. You want that to pay us back, and you want us to pay us back straight away. But no, a different kind of pressure. Pressure's always there in what you do as a manager, and particularly, as I said, at a big club like this.
And for all coaches now this season, there are some new rules being brought in, and one of them is, and we saw it last week in the EFL, the amount of added on time to matches. How much do you now have to factor that in terms of how you manage the game and your substitutes and things like that?
Yeah, it will play its part. We're all been more or less assured of that. I've made a decision. I don't know, who gets consulted on that, but we certainly weren't. So the decision's made. That's it. So we all go along with it and prepping for it, mental preparation as well for the players. In an era when you talk about health and safety and players playing too much football, it's a bit of an odd one, I think. But that's the way it is. So we get on with it. They're the rules, and we play too.
And how encouraged have you been by what you've seen from Jared Branthwaite, who's now obviously back at the club? Is he going to have a big part to play this season?
We'll see. I mean, he had a good season last season. We know that. He's unfortunately missed about 2 weeks, 10 days, 2 weeks in pre-season. We're nothing too desperate. So I mean, he's okay now. But yeah, we've liked what he's offered since he's been back at the club.
Thanks, Ian. We'll go to Carl at the Press Association.
One question on Delhi. I mean, obviously, this summer was a major event in his life, talking about it. I just wondered how well the club was set up to deal with it, and how important is that sort of pastoral side of the care?
Well, he felt very well. I saw his interview and I thought he spoke very positively and fairly about what we tried to support him with. And I think he's come through it well in his own grounds, not just on any support we've given him. I mean, look, I remember saying in an interview probably 7 or 8 years ago, I think it was to Henry Winter, he said, what do you think the future is? And I said, health and well-being, because the demands of the job, the demands of social media, the demands of modern life, modern football life as a player, they're getting harder all the time. So that was my truth then, and it still is. I think it is a future of what's going on. I think, the health and well-being and the mental well-being is going to be a big part of the future of football. And he's come out and said what he said. He's in a good place now. I speak to him every few days, not with too much depth, just checking in. Are you okay? And he's in a good place at the moment, other than his injury, which he's very unfortunate with, to just re-injured slightly. So we're waiting on that to settle down.
Okay. And in your last press conference of the season, post-match after Bournemouth, you spoke about the need for change. I just wondered what that change looked like and how much has been implemented.
Well, it looks like a slow, gradual change, because obviously you can't change a whole thinking of a club in sort of from last season to this season. 5.5 week pre-season, a close season of similar. You can't change everything, but I think we're beginning to make steps in the right direction. The rebalancing of the squad on the pitch, looking for that mixture with younger players as well as older, experienced players to find a sort of healthy balance. Off the pitch, there's some of it obviously I'm not in control of, the very top of the club, but there's certainly a shift in mentality, I think, towards what the club's going to need moving forward. So we want to build on that and continue it.
Thanks, Carl. Any further questions in the open section before we move on?
Oh, it's boiling. You lot must be chucking up. God. Oh, yeah, that's fair one, yeah.
Hi, John. George Peterson of Liverpool World. I just want to talk about the striking options you've got this year. You're looking like you're going to have at least 3 or 4 players who could potentially play down the middle, and maybe one more coming in. Does that fill you with hope, given that you were the league's lowest scorers last year?
Well, it's something a trend that we have tried to affect last season with goals from other areas. Obviously, Dwight and Duke being 2 players who certainly adjusted to that challenge. I don't think it's just about strikers. It's very helpful if you've got strikers who are scoring and on form. That's obvious. But we found different ways of affecting games. So, statistically, we hope that the stats come back to us, because it's unlikely you have another season where 3 strikers get, I think it was 4 goals. So that's unlikely. You never know, but that's unlikely. So that alone, we want to change that stat and help them to do that as strikers. And if we can bring the right people in, then we will do.